2026 budget. Sorry. The FY 2026 request form to be filled out by the select board. So everybody should have received their budget request letters from Paula saying what your budget was last year and what you spent through the first 6 months of this year. We got ours. And so we're going to discuss ours, not everybody's, but just ours. Those are due by January 31st. I'll just mention for those of you who are unaware of the deadline there. It's coming right up. Then Tri-State Mutual Aid Agreement Renewal for 2025. Select Board to vote on renewal and Select Board to sign agreement. Select Board to vote on and to sign the buy recycling policy for 2025, which encourages town departments. Have you found them?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what they were talking about. I heard he's on. Paul and Matt, right, talking to the other room. Is that what they were talking about? All right. Thank you, Doug. We can read each other since we got close. And then Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Sustainable Materials Recovery Program grant contract that has to sign it. And then there are a couple of miscellaneous mail and meeting notices that are sort of. Oh, there were agendas. Our hope sprang eternal. No, here you go. You don't have to rely on my interpretation.
Good to see you.
Thank you. And then I can send them.
You didn't get one?
I just want one.
I just don't.
Yeah, once it was here.
Well, we'll do that.
They do. Shit.
I think you know. That's it.
First on the agenda, approved minutes. Oh,
And just.
meeting order. 7:03. 7:02.
Close.
First on the list, approved minutes of December 10th, 2024.
I move that we approve the minutes of December 10th, 2024. Holly, being accepted. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Susan Melstrom, Board of Trustees Chair, Plainfield Congressional Church, discussion of possible conversion of Shaw Hudson House to a 501.
C3 non-profit.
C3 nonprofit.
Susan Melstrom, I've been in actually
Nice to meet you.
met. I'm just here because the church, we've decided to pursue saving the Shaw Hudson House. The trust, private trust, my voice. I just got here finished. The private trust is failing, and so we had to find a way to keep the building as it is, and then historically important doctor's office intact. So we are going to pursue a not-for-profit corporation to take over Shaw Hudson. And when we do that, we're in the process of starting that. When we do that, we need to with the advisal of the board of trustees of that new corporation. And I'm earlier today to but they're going to go do that. The end to ask if we think the selectmen should be on that board because it's an important building down here. And that's basically what I want to do. And I hope that by the end of your meeting, you might, if you want to do it, decide who is going to be not. Because that's part of the next step in our own case is to not only delineate the advisal of this new board of trustees, new board, but to say actually the names of people. So that's.
I would add just one other thing. The reason it's so important is that most private trusts are not eligible for charities that are from the state or the feds or those kinds of people. And you don't get the tax deduction for a donation to a private trust. 501c3 fixes both of those problems because you would be eligible for grant grant applications. And we would be able to accept donations from people who wanted to support the work of the trust. They would get a donation off of their personal tax returns, which tends to increase the likelihood of success in fundraising.
One clarification in your, said on the, information. The church is not in charge of the trust,
No,
has nothing to do with it.
it's Greenfield.
What you said, what came out of that was incorrect, and so it's Greenfield Greenfield Savings Financial oversees the account, has for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why we're in this situation.
But the board of the church. The property was left to the board of the church, but it had a different designated trustee originally, is that right?
No.
Because it used to be someone else before the bank.
The trust was created and went, has always been a third party.
Oh, I know what it was. There was a different trust officer at the bank who was managing it. And who managed it in compliance with the directions of the trust, but the second guy did,
Yeah,
no,
but that's all right. I'm just clarifying rather than taking the,
whatever, that's irrelevant to her purpose.
right, except that we do not, the church does not control the trust.
Got
That's.
it, got it. I thought you guys kind of contracted with, but if that was specified in the will.
Yeah, I went there first, and you're the
Overseers.
steers of it.
Benefactors.
Other things.
of the-
Benefit.
Okay, sorry,
With second and third beneficiaries
yeah,
as part of the bill.
thank you.
And I assume that the second and third beneficiaries are in agreement with you moving forward in this direction, that all of that's been resolved? Yes.
So, I mean,
Because there were a couple of
Ultimately-
universities, weren't they?
Honored in Columbia.
there are two historical societies that are behind us, if someone else wants to take the trust. They have already said, no, they'll help us in any way they can to keep this thing alive, this is such a wonderful historic. Then from there, if that is to fail, if nobody takes the trust, then it goes to the will, it mentions Barnard, as the sell the place, split the money into that. With this new situation, so we would back off the church and these other two historical societies have already said they would back off. Barnard and Columbia are back off, but, which is what we had hoped, they just said, what do we need for that? But they didn't. What they did, what will be happening is that the corporation will be formed, the nonprofit corporation will be formed. If it goes belly up, they will become the recipients of, let's put up Charlotte's and Thompson property. I mean, money.
Nothing changes.
So nothing changes on that final end, which makes it possible for us to go forward. If they agree to that. I see. Sorry, I'm sure I haven't said very well.
That's close.
No,
Makes sense to me.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's sort of what from where you're standing right now, it sounds like you have a clear path forward without anybody contesting. You doing this.
We've hired an attorney, he's worked very hard with this over the last year. And, to get things going. But in order for things to proceed, to go to the courts and there's no guarantee the courts will agree with this, but we have to have a plan. We have to have a plan in action. And that's what.
Okay. All right, and that sounds like a good plan. Thank you for all the work.
Do we have to vote on this? Is there anything we have to vote on?
I guess we're just asking for a representative from the board of trustees
To be selected amongst you.
to be part of this group that's being developed,
Okay,
so.
So after your meeting, somebody sent me a name.
Okay.
Well, who's liaison to the historical commission?
I don't know.
Because it would make sense that whoever is liaison to the historical commission might be that person.
Well, that person is the historical commission as well as the historical society, which are two separate entities.
Right.
They're gonna be represented on the group. We're acting that we feel is.
They want to select. board
I
members.
select board
Right.
person.
But
So
there is
there already
already
will
a
be
select
represented.
board person who is liaison to those committees. I'm just saying that
Okay,
for uniformity purposes, maybe whoever.
Are you
Okay.
required to have a certain number of members of the board?
We, as a crazy steering company, steering, committee, have just decided to start with something. It should be selected from the historical society, historical commission, board of trustees of the church, and one at-large Plainfield member, town person. And then the corporation could change, they'll have to have bylaws, they could change their comprisal, but that's what we'd like to go forward.
It's good to have an odd number.
Yes.
Well, if you guys don't want to do it, I'd be willing to do it.
I'm trying to look up in my files right now to see who's the liaison.
Well, if it's not, but
I
it,
want to do it.
if it's not you and it's not me, it's Ben, and Ben is saying, yeah, take it, Jim.
You offer.
I'd be happy to do it. I would like to do that, because I'm learning a lot about Shaw Hudson House. From having been to one or two of your meetings.
Awesome. Yeah, very much. For your time, and thanks for taking us early.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
I have another question. Who's taking notes tonight?
Oh,
Is it,
Owl.
I turned on the
Owl.
the AI function. We'll have to depend on that.
I will take that.
The AI.
It will be hard to use the recording because the sound is very poor on the recording, I mean, on the Zoom today.
Right, I did, turn on AI companion, I believe. Dalila.
Yep. I see it's on. I
Yeah,
just don't know
okay.
how much it can hear.
Okay,
Thank you.
Finance Committee FY 2026 budget request form to be filled out by select board.
So that's our budget request for this year. And, we haven't, I mean,
the select board's budget,
yes, this is a select board budget.
okay,
And these are due by January 31st. We are not even close to any of our FY 25 approved budget in terms of what we've spent through December 31st of this year. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we won't get there. The one thing I would add. Is there something?
Just read.
I heard somebody talking in the background. My personal opinion, just throw it out there as a starting point for discussion, is that we just level fund it. Because, you know, we're well under £110 a budget. I wouldn't count on cutting that back, but yeah,
No.
we have a number of looming things there. Office technology, I think that relates to what I'm gonna add at the end, which is in the grant section, where we got that $21,000 grant last year.
Right.
And we've been using that to do a lot of our technology projects this year, so. I wouldn't cut that out one, because even though we've not spent a lot of it, doesn't mean we're not gonna need it next year when we no longer have a grant.
Right.
And then, website expense will actually probably go up in the future. IT service and expense, I don't know, I don't think it probably, does the VoIP for the phone system in town offices, that increases our,
And that's a,
yeah, and that,
recurring fee,
and that would be an IT expense, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so those are the operating budget items, and then,
And we also get software through the same company that does our.
right, and that's already on it.
Okay.
And then, I mean, the budget, and do you have a copy of this? Oh, you didn't, all right. Do you have, did you have packets of that for everybody?
No.
All right. Well, so the IT service for the year was, the expense line is $5,000. And we, through 12/24, we had spent half, not quite half. So, we might, I don't know whether the phone system falls under IT expense or town office technology. I don't know how they account for that. So if you can shed light on any of these things, let me know.
We're using both of those accounts to keep everything going
Okay,
right now.
great. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I think we're in the room too, because you go through anymore. You can always use. The rest is salaries and stipends. And then I would add under the section E. Well, so for detailed estimates on revenue generated, I guess none of the licensing fees that come into the town count our budget, that counts for that office budget, right? Like building permits or
Those
licenses.
Those are all local receipts,
Okay,
and you're not really generating them. The building inspector
right.
generates those. You
Where
have,
did they-
you have a few licenses, like the class 2 licenses, and class 3 licenses, one alcohol beverage license. That's pretty much it.
Yes. But where does it show up in the annual budget? It just goes to the
And
general
it's
fund.
not because there are no expenses there. The building inspector has his own expense budget for his salary and. But,
Return to general fund was to.
right, of those things all go back into the general fund. when they come in.
That's what I was asking. So I do think we need to add the community compact IT grant. Right, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And that was for
21,000.
21,000 and that has been received.
That money was received up front first.
And then the question is, oh, 0. So that does, we don't have to say how much of that we spent.
Oh, yeah, but you don't have.
The form doesn't ask us, so
No.
we won't.
Right.
And we're not supposed to include anything about coal.
Finance committee says in the cover letter that they will give, so
Well, that's
if you,
uniform for the whole
if
town.
you as a board feel that you want to do something, then you do that, but, you go with. You would say, it's gonna be things.
Cost of living increase. So I think the only change I agree with our budget is that we know that we got a grant last year and that it only goes through the end of this year.
I know this year.
Middle of this year,
Yeah,
so like June 30.
so
Okay, so there's nothing for 2026.
No.
That's the only change. In my. So, look at it.
Page 21.
What?
Between 1,000.
Yeah, 21,000 above. Community compact IT grateful. Compact. I'm gonna put this in IT group. And it was specifically to install this lovely hybrid meeting system.
Any other questions?
Do we have to vote on this? Do we have to vote on this? No, we just submit it back to Paul.
Well, you can vote on. You can vote on your
If you
budget
guys
if you want.
want to do something different, what I
Oh,
suggested.
it's good to me.
So I see that, I'm just asking this question because I'm learning. We have treasurer, executive assistant, and council, and students meet appoint your positions that they're on a commission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Paula,
All the positions that we appoint on a,
you have your first 2026
Thank you,
budget submission.
thank you.
I didn't write it all in, but do you want me to?
It's in this one.
Oh, you did it?
Almost, it's already done.
Fine.
So basically, you're level funding everything.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
I mean, I just really wanted us to get it back to you quickly. I wanted to be the first ones to submit that budget. What can I say?
If something else comes up, I will let you know.
I'm sure.
Okay, any questions? On to the Tri-State Mutual Aid Agreement Renewal for 2025, select board vote on renewal and select board chair to sign the agreement.
I don't even really know much
Just,
about it.
just make a
yeah.
motion that,
Oh. The, vote to renew the Tri-State Mutual Aid Agreement for 2025.
a second.
all in favor?
I,
It has to do with the fire department about just mutual aid stuff.
okay,
Rob's gonna come, but he had stuff to do, so.
yeah. Those warrants. So I'm just gonna multitask here.
So there's a big tri-state mutual aid and some fire department.
Yes, he's got it under control.
Oh, that's, yeah,
Select board to vote on and to sign buy recycled policy for 2025.
who made that policy? I mean, I think it's a fine policy, I read it this afternoon, but I have no idea where it came from.
That comes from HRMC, the Health Town Resource Management Cooperative.
Oh, okay. Do we all have to sign or just you?
All of us.
Something,
Oh.
something.
Can you say the name of what it is again?
It is a tri-state mutual aid agreement renewal for 2025, and that's the agreement between towns to support each other for fire. Does it have to do with police too, Justin?
No.
No,
This
just
this
fire.
is the fire department.
Fire emergency management.
So when you mentioned HRMC, was that for this same agreement? I thought you all had moved to a different topic.
That's
That's,
a buy recycled policy.
Yeah, we did move to a different topic right
Okay.
after that.
What
Which is-
recycle?
Buy recycled policy.
It's a policy asking all town departments and offices and committees to make an effort to buy recycled products in their normal daily business. Like if you're buying copier paper, buy paper that's made out of recycled paper. Or if they list a bunch of different categories of products that are available for in a recycled form or in a new form.
Thank you.
So
Any other
did we
questions?
actually vote on that? Can't remember.
You're
It's
supposed
just a
to,
vote on it
yes,
and
you
sign.
have to vote on it.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, go ahead.
make a motion to buy the, I mean, do the buy recycle policy. For
Second.
2025.
I second.
All in favor? Any other questions? Under the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, Mass DEP, Sustainable Materials Recovery Program Grant, contract, select board chair to sign.
You don't have to vote on it. Okay.
Was this the $5,000 that was received for
Which?
the
Oh, the sustainable, this grant? I don't. There's a minute for you to sign.
$5,600.
$5,600, yes. That is something worth mentioning. What it's about is that because we did so well at recycling items at the transfer station, we actually got credit from the this organization, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, of $5,600. So that's something that I think just goes into the general account coffers.
No, it's a separate grant account, and the Board of Health, decides what you will spend it on.
Oh, okay.
So they should have offset the expenses of recycling, no?
No,
Okay.
not really.
Say.
It's that, they know what is eligible to use that funding.
But I just wanted to make a point that it's because of people's recycling.
Yes, yes.
That we got this grant. So it's worth keeping on with that. Oh, the Leela.
I just wanted to say special thanks to Hank and April and then Jack and Ellen, because they also do a lot of work to make sure that what we're recycling is sorted well, and that, you know, they probably were a big time reason why we got it. So I just wanted to say thank you to them.
Here, here. They do a great job.
In case people haven't heard, you can now bring your compost to the transfer station. If you don't put it in the compactor, it saves us money in terms of the tons of garbage that we're shipping off. And that is what earns credits as well. The fewer tons of garbage we ship on, and we get a bigger grant. So all around, it's a win-win situation for everybody to compost.
Any other questions? Miscellaneous mail and being notices, the Upper Pioneer Valley Veteran Services District letter regarding the honoring, empowering, and recognizing our service members in Veterans Act, Hero Act, and Division of Local Services, TLS bulletin regarding the Hero Act.
But as Polly figured out, I think we discussed that at the previous meeting.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think that it was not voted on because I think what this Hero Act allows for is a tax exemption for any disabled veteran in our town. And I don't think we actually in fact have any disabled veterans in town. But should we? I think we should consider this. That it's something worth doing and honoring them in that regard. So I would make a motion to just bench this until we learn more about it and come back to it. And then vote on whether or not to have this part of our bylaws, I don't know.
I think a lot of these things are sort of handing the rules.
Right. I don't think it's the goals, just the information,
So
other than people.
I don't
use.
think we had this before, did we?
They changed the, I think some of the mass law or something.
Shall we bench it for the next select board meeting?
You could if you want.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like it was carried forward from before. I thought we had done that at the last.
And I think it only implies that we have something that can be.
Unless you wanna go to renew this now.
And we didn't have it before.
Yeah.
It's not a renewal.
It's not a renewal.
Let's actually
It's just the information.
It's just an information piece.
Any other questions?
I have another, oh.
I don't know, this is not a question on this, but I do have something that I'd bring up. I just realized that Ed is listed as an alternate member on the recreation committee, and he was appointed as a regular member. It makes a difference in what they are. And I'd like to see that he is actually one whatever as a regular member, rather than just the alternate. So he was an alternate, and then you were appointed regular, but somehow when he got his letter to swear in, it said he was an alternate.
Oh, he's regular, not alternate.
He's a regular.
Okay, sorry, I was reversing that.
And I have a letter here, just want to sign it, so when he fixes it, he's sure of everything.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Justin,
Well, I hand it over to you, Ben, or do you want me to start?
You can start.
Well, I wrote a letter to the board this week, regarding, ways that the PD can self-fund a cruiser every 5 years, trying to figure out a way that it doesn't get put on the taxpayers' burden. So we've been looking at ways to not be a burden to the taxpayer and let, like, the companies, when cars are out making money, keeping the officer safe. Like, let's use Verizon, for example, they're paying cruiser details and let that go into an account that could grow and let them pay it to get us a cruiser. We don't have to ask money off the general fund, to keep a cruiser every 5 years updated. Or a used one, or whatever we gotta do. And so I asked Ben if he'd come in and talk numbers, and he was talking to Paula, and I brought Dan and Howard. Because we're just trying to figure out a way that we don't cost the taxpayers money. We want to have the proper equipment, but have it as a self-funding way. So that's what I was bringing up to the board. I wrote in a letter,
I thought we already had a police stabilization fund.
that's good.
we do it, it's $5,000 they put in every year, which, be like 14 years before we can get a car, if one breaks.
Mhm.
So, so I was talking to Ben, we were talking, and I was talking to Paula, and just trying to figure out a way that we can do this, so we don't wanna raise taxes, and we don't wanna, have it, if the officers are out making money, then, the cruisers are making money, maybe you can self-fund. So, I talking to Ben.
So I spent a couple hours today calling a number of different towns. I talked to town administrator in Ashfield, I talked to accountant and treasurer in Brookfield and Richmond. We had something set up somewhere, but that's apart from Williamsburg accountant, the Cheshire accountant. All of these towns have programs similar to this. They're set up in a couple different ways, there's a couple different options, but the basic idea is that when police officers are out working detail in the town, there are a couple fees that we charge in addition to their hourly rate. One of those is 10% administration fee. And one of those is a fee What's your fee?
It's
hour?
$20 an hour for the cruiser.
$20 an hour. Now, that 10%. There's a specific goal in mind for that 10%. And the idea is that that covers the unemployment costs, the Medicare tax, some of the increased insurance liability, as well as the time it takes for Howard and for entering payroll and actually booking these. My guess, and I'll look at the numbers and pull the insurance policy so I can make sure I do this right, is you could probably split it about 50-50, with 5% of the fees going towards the cruiser, 5% staying with the town to offset those costs, so the town's not losing any money on it. When it comes down to it, there are, to my mind, I'm thinking about it all day, 3 different options. No version of this is going to change the tax rate that dramatically, whether you are taking these fees out of general fund and out of free cash, or going and borrowing the money for it. The first option, we just leave receipts as general fund, leave things as it is, will increase your free cash, and you're gonna be borrowing $60,000 to $70,000 every 5 years when you go out to get a new cruiser. That increases the risk for having older vehicles or vehicles failing, because there's always that risk. You get to 5 years and the town's had a tough year, and we don't want to approve another big borrow. I think that's where a lot of the concern is coming from, is that it's always difficult to get everybody on board to approve these borrows. And, you know, as emergency responders, they're only as good as the vehicles they ride in. Can't do any good if your car breaks down on the way. So if you leave it as is, there's more control for the select board and for the finance committee. Again, you're gonna increase your free cash, but you're borrowing a lot more. The other option would be to take your cruiser and admin fees. Again, split the admin fees. Keep doing the $5,000 from stabilization, you can set up a revolving account. I think that's what Ashfield and Williams or Cheshire have, are these police revolving funds. Now, that would require at the end of the year, a transfer of stabilization into that police cruiser stabilization account at town meeting. This is gonna decrease free cash, you're gonna be borrowing a lot less, I would say 5,000, 15,000 to 60, 75. It's more control for the department head and for the town meeting. And you can also set a spending limit on this if you wanted to. You could use that money for repairs, gas, anything else that might come up. There's just a little bit more flexibility there. Or you set it up, third option, cruiser and admin fees are put into what's called a receipts reserve appropriation account. Again, decreases free cash, you'll be borrowing $10,000, $15,000 or less every 5 years. Increased stability for the fleet. You have more control of town meeting, but then those funds come with the central town meeting vote. So you wouldn't have the discretion for that. But these are absolutely possible to do. Personally, I think that it's clean and makes sense to have police department fees start to fund that police cruiser expense. Just in terms of department head fiscal responsibility, I think Justin and I are on the same page. We like to save money, towns to work for. But again, this is going to be a marginal change to the tax rate. I'm talking about $10,000 to $15,000 one way or the other. It's maybe a third of 1%. So it's less than a penny on the tax rate.
Well, I think it's less about, it sounds to me from what you described, that it's less about necessarily reducing the taxes, but it's avoiding the debt that can tend to increase the taxes and reduces our debt service. And I like it from my finance committee perspective, because it's anticipating expenses that are going to be incurred more than beyond the current year. And planning for them ahead of time, which is, I think, one of the most important things that the town needs to do in its financial strategy is look further into the future than just this year's budget.
Yeah, I know we've talked about that.
Yeah.
So I think
Which of the 3 options would you recommend?
Or which of the two, it sounds like it's between 2 and 3.
So. I even talked to Paul, decided we didn't wanna. Take the steps, we want to present you the options, these are all legal. They are all things which Paul and I do without being too much work for us, just across the time we focus at home.
I just highlight the differences between two.
Actually, can you do it in writing? Because I don't know that we're gonna decide this tonight, are we?
No, you don't have to decide it. You have.
Yeah, we're just, giving you the information.
It's number two.
One that they have. You wouldn't have to go to town meeting to.
Just back. It would create a fund, we split the administrative and departments between, what are we splitting it between, the town and?
So the first part would be the 10% is what Ben was saying is it would be cut in half. So 5% of the fund, like the work everybody does for billing. And then the other 5% will go towards,
What's the other? I understand the split.
all right, so then it's the
Half is
cruiser.
going to the town to cover the cost of billing,
Yeah, so that's on just the 10%.
and then
And
half
then-
of it goes to a
Then
fund.
it's a $20 an
More
hour.
discretionary fund.
Right, then it's $20 an hour that we bill out, which is going to that fund to build as we need it, when we need it, so.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a good road job year, there'll be more money in there, if it's a poor year, there'll be less money, and we'll just, you know.
And that happens.
Yeah, and that allows you to cover the maintenance of the older
Right,
vehicles
so we have,
without having to take it out of the free
Right.
cash of the town.
right,
Right.
right, like we had a $6,500 repair last year on Cruiser 2, and that's why I brought it to the town select board. And, you know, we made a decision to fix it, so there would be something there instead of.
So if you are leaning towards doing it as a revolving account, I would just suggest putting a couple of stipulations on it. It has to be spent on either new vehicle repairs or gas, spend on the details. And maybe putting a cap on some, Ashford was $3,000, I think Cheshire was $10,000. Of what can be spent in that year versus what would be, versus the surplus of that would go
We want to build.
Saving,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
One question, the $20 you get conclusive.
Yeah.
That goes in that fund.
yes, well,
Well,
yes,
split.
exactly, so it would be.
Well,
It would be $20 an hour to go directly to the
Take
fund, and not just to the general account,
Fine.
so we can, you know, we can build. Yeah, and we can fix the old ones and keep them going, so.
So
So,
$20.
yes, so we just,
Plus
we split.
Yeah.
And we put that into the.
Delima had her hand raised for a long time.
On the couch, you know.
I did notice, Delima. Can you hear me?
I can, but I'm getting a couple conversations in the room, so I can only hear a little bit. I heard you say my name and ask if I could hear you.
Did you,
Oh,
have a
yes,
question?
I have my hand up. I had a comment. I really appreciate Ben and Justin and Howard and folks kind of trying to think through new ways of handling some of these budget pieces because we know things are crunched. So I'm really appreciative of that. I think I have just some general questions about like how often, so when I've heard about police cruisers, what I've generally heard is they were given to us for free, many of them, except for I think one. And so now we're talking about, and so they're not costing the town money. But now I think we're talking about having to replace them. And so that is going to cost the town money. So it went from something that was free to us that now I'm hearing us say that we're trying to find money to replace the things that were free. Is that correct?
Yes, to a point, not, it's what it is we're trying to replace the frontline car. So there's a frontline car that is run, we have 2 full-time officers. So we're trying, I don't know which one I can talk to. We're trying to replace a frontline car that's running 40 hours a week. We have 2 frontline cars, one for myself, one for the sergeant. So then the older cars get pushed to the back of the line and become detail cars, which go and make town money, keep the officer safe on the details. And the companies are requesting it. We're not just sending them out there. They request us. And, you know, for example, this week, we can only send one, only one able to go out. So we have to send, yeah, go ahead.
The question was about whether or not I paid for cars.
Alright, so the only car right now that we got the grant for the truck. And then we use grant money to get a admin car. So what we did is, so what we're trying to do is. An admin car is not a frontline. The frontline cars are really expensive. They have the cages, they have the radios, they're the police interceptor, whatever. They're a frontline police car. And we need to have at least one of them that's in 100,000 miles or 5 years old. So that's all I'm trying to do is just keep one car that's meeting that criteria. The truck just turned 5 years old. It's gonna get a lot of years left out of it. It just no longer becomes a frontline car. Because it's starting to time out, but doesn't mean we can't use it. We can use it until it breaks in half. It's
Right.
just that one car that stays, and we've been actively looking, talking with Pittsfield, the sergeant has. Sergeant's been talking with Northampton, see if we can find a used cheap car to keep going. A lot of towns we've asked, they gave us stuff. And they're at the point of, we've given you stuff, it's time for your town to step up and start getting your own cars. And I see what they're saying, you know what I mean? We lost 2 cars this year. They had catastrophic failures. The frames broke, engine problems, beyond what we should be fixing. Cause the frames get rusty. So they went off the municipal bid and we got, we got 600 for one and 1,500, which went in the general fund. So
Got
that's.
it. I think I'm understanding it. I think I'm just trying to understand the numbers now. I'm trying to understand the detail. And it sounds like what it would be doing is it would be costing us money in order to have the cars that can be used on it. Is that what you're saying? Like we need to have the cars that can be used for the details? So we need to spend money for people to do the details. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what the
Okay.
older cars would be. And then the new car would be a frontline car for the patrol.
Got
So
it.
we got a 911 call at your house, we can get there adequately and safely and with all the
Right.
stuff you need.
Right,
without waiting.
obviously. Yeah, y'all need to
Yeah.
be safe in your car. Okay. And so what is the benefit to the town for you all doing the detail?
So the benefit of
Is
the
it,
town is the $20 an hour and the 10% admin fee.
but that would be
So-
going now to just the cruiser if you did option 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, no, was option 2, Ben? Is it?
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. So what's really coming down to, it's still a benefit to the town by doing this. What is we're not gonna take as much money out of the general fund when we have to buy an $85,000 police car every 5 years.
There are also a couple other advantages to having police officers out there doing their details. If things go really badly and you need backup, you can pull detail officers off the detail to respond to something that's getting really, really wrong. I find driving down 116 as much as I do, seeing a police officer out on the detail is a reminder to slow down. And it also is paid out at a high hourly rate, which is an incentive to get some of our police officers to stay, whereas they could go to other towns and make more money that way. And this way we get to keep them.
We retain officers, our pay in the town of Plainfield, officers is not very high. So if we can give them an option to go out and do details, they can go off their own, so and make a little bit extra money, so we can, bring the rate up. And the town's not paying for that.
You're talking about officers other than you and the sergeant. So we want
Yeah,
to,
we have 5 total.
Right,
2 full-timers, 3 per diems.
got it. So you're saying in order to keep the 3 per diems, having the detail provides them enough money to give them incentive to be extra police officers in town, because we need, and basically what I'm hearing Ben say is we need 5 officers in town.
It's in my mind more about keeping the sort of full-time officers that we do have. And maybe there's one other person out there doing details that's not going to do 2 a day. I see that, honestly, maybe there's 2.
Yeah, some days we can't fill them. We have other mutual aid towns. Harrisburg comes up, Lincoln comes up, Jill comes over. Working is that if we can't fill them, they come in, so we try to fill them with our own. officers, but sometimes, per diem, sort of have other jobs at other places, so they're not always around available.
But we do only have 2 full-time police officers. There's
Right,
people
but I
under-
think yeah, I'm sorry, Ben, I was just asking about benefits to town, and I think one of them that you said was keeping the other officers, so.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
just getting clarification on the benefits, so that as I describe this out to people and hear, I just want to make sure I'm sharing a full story. Thank you, I appreciate the additional, information.
First thing I want to say is that, everybody knows that, when there is uniformed officer with a card on the job site, everybody is much safer. There have been studies and this is just a given that when the officers are there, both the guys who are doing the work and the other motorists come to go to park much safely. The other thing to consider is that, and I'm not sure if it's law or a regulation, but I hope everybody understands that the law says that every 5 years or every 100,000 miles, our first car, our primary car out the door has to be replaced, just like our fire truck. We can use the older fire trucks, but our new fire truck has to meet that standard. And the other thing to consider is that every year we fill out a routine form that tells our insurance company and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that our officers are adequately trained, that our officers are adequately equipped, and that our infrastructure is adequate and meets the regulation. This is part of a way to address that and make sure that in terms of what we have for vehicles, that's true.
I just have one quick thing. It's regarding this. And for example, this summer, Sergeant Tebow was on a detail with a power company or tree company? Northern Tree Company. And a tree worker caught the chainsaw across his face. He kicked back, cut his face all open. Bay State, they went. So they loaded him up. It's a bloody mess. He saved his life. If we weren't there to react, and he was right there, he's working, being paid, and without Sergeant Tebow there, he gave him a blue light special all the way to Bay State because it was that serious. I mean, when your brain's showing, it's serious. Your face is cut. It was really gruesome, and thank God that he was there, and they're paying for it. There's lots and lots of those situations, but that was the most recent one that we had, and it's hats off to Sergeant Tebow. He's there, making extra money, keeping everybody safe, and literally keeping them safe and saving them. And I know I'm not gonna go on longer, but that's just one little example.
Well, what I think is to take 2 and 3 and write it down and make some stipulations for the number 2 thing, and then we'll vote on it for next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Sounds good.
And I appreciate Ben comments, follow up, I asked him to come. Okay.
I mean, I think the number 2 makes sense, just gotta get some stipulations in there and let everybody
Yeah.
treat it and.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely should work.
I appreciate the board's response and everything. We're just trying to keep this not as a giant expense. We're just trying to figure out ways. That are
Borrowing little amounts of money is more appealing than borrowing lots of money.
right, I feel the same way as department, so.
It still ends up the same amount of money, it just looks better in smaller increments. So.
And maybe Ben can answer this question for me, but it is more cost effective to go this method rather than to take it out of general fund and borrow, correct? In the end, you save money.
So. It's very marginal. If you take these funds, so when we're going to calculate a tax rate, part of that is our estimated local receipts. This is a number on that calculation. But we're usually pretty conservative. We put 8,000, 10,000 or
A lot
less.
lower than what we get.
Last year we did much less. So it'll increase the tax rate by 1/6 to 1/3% that way. And then in 4 or 5 years, we can go to borrow for another one. We're gonna pay a higher rate on it, a 5-6% difference. but then you have to raise it over that on your taxes, you're gonna be paying extra $4,000 in interest a year, plus paying down the $15,000 or $20,000 anyway. So it does work out from cheap, but I would say that's not biggest motivator to do it. It's the things that having a part self-funded, and it's the ability to make these repairs as they come.
Right.
And knowing we're funding it as we're going instead of tracking it all at once.
And then that money that comes in the way it's booked now becomes a part of the town's free cash certification. So if you take it and use it in another way, then you'll lose it from there to go over.
So it sounds to me like it basically plans ahead, it gives you greater flexibility. It saves you a little bit of money, that isn't necessarily the primary motivation, but it allows us to do more details that will help with the retention of the PTM officers. And it doesn't cost us any.
It does cost.
Well, we're gonna do that anyway.
Right.
I mean, that's not an additional cost. That's mandated by the state.
That's where Paul and I ended up on it. It's not gonna cost us more or less really, either way.
No.
But it has other peripheral benefits. That also, I mean, I love the one of having more flexibility. I think that that's always a desirable thing when managing finances.
Well, also, I mean, something in my mind that I'm kind of thinking that it used to go into the general fund. All the profit and the per diem officers went into the general fund, which could be used anyway.
Right.
And so now,
It won't.
it's
going
A percentage of it will, but then the
a
money.
percentage will, but a percentage will be used directly for the police department budget and acquiring
Right.
vehicles
But most
that are mandated by law to be a certain standard.
I mean, I guess you could probably accomplish the same thing if you said, okay, we're gonna make it town bylaw that says, or we're gonna have a policy that says every time we go to certify free cash at that special town meeting, we're gonna put $12,000 or whatever the amount of money is into the police stabilization account. It's more or less the same thing
It is.
Right.
in terms of how it looks on our finances from that side view.
Always more than one way to skin a cat.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, any feline lovers in the room.
So when it goes to free cash. And used our free cash after you close that town meeting.
And
Now it's
So that's a
Control
significant
by-
change.
changed.
right, but your revolving fund has to be established by a town meeting. And I believe the money that goes into it has to be a town meeting vote, that's why. Or can we just put it there? Well, we have to look at that.
Put it there, if we were gonna do a revolving fund
Fund.
with a cap, then we'd have to transfer the remainder at town meeting to
Right,
that.
if you were gonna add to it, then.
So Ed, do you think that the town would be less inclined to set up a revolving fund that they don't have to vote on for Justin to be able to spend it, for the chief to be able to spend it on police needs?
Once you get this fund set up and the people okay it. I would like to see the people okay it too.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It would have to be a town meeting.
Then if they okay it.
Yeah.
There'd be no argument.
Okay.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I guess the question I was asking is, does the town want? I mean, my understanding is we're not talking about large sums of money.
No.
We're talking, like a couple of thousand here and there, maybe 12,000 a year,
Well,
No.
no, probably like 20.
$20,000.
Yeah, but we already put 5 in. So.
No.
Right.
I mean, how much do you bring in from your detail work on an annual basis?
Well, it fluctuates. One year,
Very
I've seen
variable.
48,000, and 1 year I've seen 8,000. Another year, 20,000, 19,000. It depends on what we have to send out to be working, right? And
Yeah.
it's all about what work is available, what options we have, and what cars we have to send.
Got it. So that seems like a somewhat, I don't wanna say trivial, it's not trivial, but it's not a very large expense. And I don't know.
Well,
Mr. President.
I can tell you that between May of 22 and, just through, from May of 22 through 23, up through actually January 8th, 2024. The total for the cruisers and the fee was $45,755. So it varies. I will also tell you, maybe more than you want to know, but I am in the process because I did these spreadsheets just over time to try and get a sense of how much came in. What I'm now doing in the next week or two before this year's finance committee meeting is I'm doing a spreadsheet for all of the income for fiscal year 24, which is completed. And then I'm setting up another one to do everything that has come in to date for fiscal year 25. And I'm setting it up as something that that I will update every week or two, so that rather than being a project that I've had to do a year apart, it will become part of the weekly bookkeeping process. So there will be a spreadsheet that will break down what the town got, what the cruisers got, what the fee was. But in that year and a half, it was over 45,000.
Yeah, and then we can take Howard's information and meet up with Ben and Paula and confirm it, and so we're double, triple checking. So we're not doing anything over and beyond, but we wanna track it literally every week and have it at our fingertips, that what's coming, what's owed, what's paid, what's unpaid.
Sounds good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the board's time, so hear us out.
Yep.
Thank you.
So you're just gonna bring us back
Justin, for our next meeting.
a written thing that sorts out all these detailed questions.
Yeah, I'll work with Ben and Paula and I'll put you back.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time. I just wanted to stop in, I haven't seen you guys since before the holidays. I stopped in to see Heather and Paula last week, didn't catch Heather down there, but I do plan to stop in on Friday and talk to her. If the bills I have are not prepared, hey, my concern is that Heather has told me a different number she's billing us. Having said that, we are selling 3 parcels. We have 4 parcels down in the church, so I accepted an offer on it and expect it to close in the next 30 days. So if it is in fact more than I've been billed, I'm gonna first pay those first 3 parcels off, be able to sell those, and then right after that, take care of what's due on the 15th. So
That's great.
yeah, so I sold my tractor the other day, I was selling my skid steer the other day, so just to ensure this doesn't happen again, I just don't want you guys to take care of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate
And
that.
we've signed the agreement, it's just as soon as we get word that the.
Yeah, this is it. I was ready to do it last week, but I was out, so I just
Yeah, she'll
need to get
this
some.
week, so.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop in Friday and see her, so. Yeah, just get this figured out, but like I said, my concern is that it's more than what the bills are saying based on what Paul's told me. But I am prepared to, at minimum, pay the 3 parcels that I'm getting rid of, and then we'll handle the 4th one soon thereafter.
Okay.
So that was about it, just an update, kind of let you guys know the plans of the property and what's going on down there.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
exactly what we asked for.
Yeah, here I am.
To listen.
I'll keep letting you know, so. Well, appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? You got one more?
I have one more question, but you were saying something.
Go ahead, Delila.
Oh, in December, you all had this email from Mary Nash where you all were going to talk about the 2 districts, 8 towns sustainability study update, but then we didn't do it in December. Is that going to be on a future meeting?
Almost likely.
You can also catch up with the sustainability committee directly. You don't have to listen to us talk about it.
Well, I mean, I would actually like to hear what the select board has to say and what reflections y'all have. It sounds like maybe you don't want to, so I'm not putting anything on your agenda. It was just already there and I was looking forward to hearing about it. And,
I'll make a note and have it get on the
What
agenda.
that was in the miscellaneous, email and, miscellaneous email section of the agenda, which was not necessarily something that we discuss. It's simply Shannon or whomever drawing our attention to emails that came to the select board. So what is it? To the AT Sustainability Committee routinely sends updates to the select boards of all the towns, to the 8 towns. And sort of to say, this is coming in, read it. Doesn't mean we're gonna discuss it.
okay.
And also I'll say that that committee, is still evaluating all of the, options. There has not been any movement towards a decision on what, which option might be played out. I think they're actually in the process of having, listening sessions.
Maybe they
Still,
know,
or maybe that's. concluded.
I think they're in the final report writing stage now. They've been doing a lot of listening sessions.
Right.
And the consultant is working on their final report. I'm sure you could find it online. I could help find it online. They do have a website where they have sort of what the different options were. And then the final report will come out sometime in spring.
And then I
Okay.
think that gets, introduced to the district. And I think the final decision on what, I'm not really sure how a final decision is made.
It's gonna have to go to the state. I don't think it's. I
Our
don't think it's up to
district or the
us.
state, but I don't know if select boards having a say in the outcome of this study.
No, we don't.
Right, right. But do you know how Plainfield is informing it at all?
Oh, yeah, we have, well,
Well, there are
David
lots
Thomas-
of options. so
David
I don't-
Thomas has been involved with it. I was at the early stages, but I'm not now because my life kind of went sideways over the summer. Our school committee members are informed about it. There are a number of people in town who've been going to some of the listening sessions or the discussions, the feedback sessions. They had one at Sanderson Academy in the late fall. So, I mean, we are not being left out of the process, for sure.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
I went to that meeting in the fall.
Actually, Delila, it'd be a good idea for me to put something up on the, town website about it. Just so people can read what the committee has been, researching, all of the proposals they put out there. And the possibility of how our school system may evolve to.
I like that idea. And thank you, Ben, for going in the fall.
And what'd you say, Juliana?
I said, I like that idea and thank you to Ben for going in the fall.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Mm. Thank you.
Optimistic.
Well, it doesn't save us any money, so no matter what option they have.
Yeah, restructuring in any way often costs money.
It was very informative.
And combining districts means busing kids even further.
And the buses are
Which I would
crazily
say
expensive.
that from my house all the way to Mohawk, my kids who are older now, it took a whole hour to get them to school.
Yeah.
So I'm not so sure about their proposals.
I've known kids over the years whose ride was longer than an hour.
Yeah,
If you were trying to get the feeder bus in town
yeah.
more.
My daughter rides an hour on her bus just and I go out and it's just one town, so I don't an hour. It stinks, but I don't think it's.
So we're not alone.
Yeah, no, and that's within town, so.
All right, should we do the last
Yeah.
thing?
Well, hang on,
Oh, you do yours.
Novus payment of $5,977.50.
Do we need to vote on that? I move that we pay the Novus bill, of whatever the amount was,
$977.50.
Okay, I move that we do that.
And I second it, and I'll just clarify that this bill was for the labor of installing all the phones. For the voice over the internet, new phone system. You can now call the town offices, any town building number, and they're recording and leave a message.
All in favor?
I,
Can I just thank Polly, because as somebody who goes to his office once or twice a week, a couple of mornings. The transcripts of the few phone messages I get are really, really easy.
Great.
It just makes it that much easier. It just makes it that much easier to respond to people if I have their message with their number right there.
It makes it easier for everybody in town too. And, you know, I can't imagine how we functioned for years when, you know, people trying to reach somebody in town offices and calling when nobody's there and the phone just ringing and ringing and ringing.
It still does that.
It's
No.
I've got people complain about it.
I actually.
Yeah.
Almost
They don't know how to use the, they don't like the voicemail system, but that's, it's like, and one last thing.
Yeah.
And it's a little packet I made for each of you, I would just like you to look at it. And tell me if you think it sounds okay, it's an invitation to, the chairs of all boards, commissions and committees. For a meeting that we wanna have, I sent out an email earlier about 2 possible dates. I ended up choosing the Monday, February 10th, because there was one person who is a critical participant who couldn't be there on the earlier date. Everybody else sort of said, well, I have a slight preference for this or that. But nobody ruled it out, and that one was ruled out. So, I did want to send out something over to the select board.
We'll stick it there.
This gives you the agenda, you've got that there. And please look over, I've made a thing, spring of 2025, important dates to remember. And the first one is the training session on the 28th of January. The second one is the budget request day. Then there's the all boards meeting. Sometime in the spring, we're gonna have a special town meeting, but that's not yet been scheduled. That ought to go on our agenda soon. I've got the town caucus date and time and location. Reminder about annual reports. So anybody who hasn't written their annual report, please get on that.
Today,
What?
mine.
Thank you. Great.
absolute deadline, end of, January.
No, not for the annual report.
Oh, no, I
No.
thought it was
No, well,
The 15th, I thought, January 15th.
we
January
wanted it,
15th, and
but that's never been it.
for the absolute, then it isn't on January 31st.
No. Okay, great. I'll just change that.
Looks good to me.
All right, thank you. I'll send this out tomorrow.
Okay.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Stay warm.
Paper.